Today's project, I'm going to install a triple gauge pod on an F-150 pickup. This is what it looks like right here. So it has the 3 gauges. It was just painted and everything. And the top gauge is going to be for temperature. Middle gauge is for transmission temperature. And the bottom gauge is for the voltage, battery voltage. Now, I've already got them. I got them sticking out a little bit because that'll allow me to rotate them if I need to when I actually mount the A-pillar in place. And see along the back of it here, it has all the wires because each of them has its own backlight. So I'm going to wire those together in parallel. And then the ground wires are all going to be running parallel as well. And then as for the top gauge, as for the temperature gauge, that one has this long coil right here, and that's going to go to the engine. It's going to be screwed into the factory temperature sensor in the engine. And then for the transmission temperature, that's going to be similar to it on the transmission. It has a fitting that this will screw into to electronically read the temperature of that. It's really good to have a transmission temperature sensor, especially if you're pulling trailers. And then for the voltage, you can just hook that right up to an ignition source. I'm Stereo Man, and let's get started. As you see, I got the A-pillar mounted with the gauges in it. Let's say I don't have them fully in yet because in case I need to rotate them a little bit. Now I had to end up switching the temperature gauge here at the bottom with the voltage gauge at the top because I didn't have enough cable, because it's a mechanical temperature gauge and the cable wasn't long enough by it being up here at the top. So I put it at the bottom and then I ran it over the steering column and out the firewall. So I had to go the most direct route over to the OEM temperature sensor, because on this truck the factory OEM temperature sensor stopped working. When you turn the ignition on, it would just shoot up the hot all the time. And instead of replacing the entire instrument cluster, and then you'd have to worry about the mileage being off, better just install an aftermarket temperature gauge. See, here's the sending unit right here. You see it's just barely long enough. This is right here where it came from. And you see it has antifreeze in it. So you know you're going to get an accurate reading right there for the water temperature sensor. And to get that factory one out, which is this one right here. Just use a socket, deep well socket, 19 millimeter. And this is the Ford 4.6 V8. Now we're all finished here. And as you can see, the grommet, which is the rubber boot right here, it's been reinstalled, and then also use sealant on it because part of the grommet had to be cut out to accommodate the wires and everything, because there's an 18 gauge wire coming out of it for the transmission temperature sensor, and then there's the coil for the engine temperature sensor, and then there's the 4 gauge power wire, which is for the dual amplifiers in here. Because if the grommet is not properly installed, then when the person driving the car, you're going to feel a bunch of wind gushing in, and that ain't good. That's why I always say people who are not professionals should not attempt this at all under any circumstances. Nice 60 amp fuse block right here going to the positive terminal on the battery, and in the back here's the amps. There's the distribution block right here for the power, and there's the distribution block. There's the distribution block for the grounds. There's 1 amp. There's the other amp, which is the 4-channel, and then subwoofers behind the passenger seat. And also, you see the headliner was just done. It was white before, and it started sagging. So the headliner's been professionally replaced. And in this vehicle, I've also installed
a port that has USB as well as an auxiliary.
You can add this too. All you gotta do is make that call, 708-821-3526. And remember, there's only one. We'll see you next time.